So, we're here for our first lesson of Algebra 2. I'm going to kind of mirror what my notes have to what we're going to do today, the notes that you got that you're able to download or look at through Google Classroom. So, we're starting with section 1.4 from our textbook, and eventually we'll get access to the textbook so you'll be able to see more things that way. Up until then, we're going to have to wait for that. So, solving equations. I know this is something that we've done for a long time. I think it's a great starting point to kind of jump in the year at, something that you're familiar with. So again, when we're solving equations, our primary goal is to get x equal an answer. And again, remember the number in front of the x, the coefficient is always a 1. Typically we don't put the 1 there, but it's always there. And so that's our goal. Now in order to solve equations, there are 5 different things we can do. And that's it. Out of all the other options of solving, we have 5 to choose from. The 5th one is kind of like for a very advanced problem with fractions. But other than that, only 5 things to do. The first 2 things that we figure out what to do are going to involve pretty much every single problem. So we're going to start with problem number 1. 5x minus 7 equals negative 17. Now, when we look at this, again, we want to isolate our x value. We want to get this by itself. So the first thing we do, I see that I have x's here, I have a plain number of a negative 7 here, and a negative 17 on this side of the equal sign. A lot of people put a line down the middle of the equal sign. Now, I like to think about algebra, there's no subtraction whatsoever. Think about doing opposites. So instead of minus 7, it's actually plus a negative 7. So in order to undo a negative 7, we add opposites. Plus 7 to both sides. And add down. As you see, plus 7 on the left, plus 7 on the right. Nothing to do with the 5x. Carry that down. This cancels out, and negative 17 plus 7 is negative 10. Now, I have the x's all isolated by themselves. Oh, so over here, one thing we can do, add opposites. Whether it's numbers or variables, we can add opposites. Second thing we can do is multiply or divide. Multiply by a reciprocal or divide. That's what we're doing here. That's our second thing. 5 divided by 5 is, guess what? That cancels out. It's x. Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. And we have our answer. So, you've seen probably 1,000 problems like that. Second problem we have, 3x plus 8 equals 5x minus 8. Now, we have x's on both sides of the equal sign. We need to get x's on either side to isolate them. Now, because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, we have to come back here and add opposites. I like to keep positive numbers. So I'm going to add the smaller one, negative 3x and negative 3x to both sides. This cancels out. 5x and a negative 3x is 2x. And we still have this plus negative 8 or minus 8. We have numbers, x is numbers. We still want to get these x's by themselves. So again, we add opposites. Still doing that first step. So we add 8 to both sides. We have 16 equals 2x. We have the x's all by themselves. Our final step, we're going to multiply or divide by, we're going to multiply by reciprocal or divide. So we're going to divide by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 2 divided by 2, it cancels out, and we have x equals 8. So there's our first 2 sample problems. And in both those problems, the only thing we did, we either added opposites or we divided. 2 steps we had to work on. Now looking at problem C. Problem C. 36 equals negative 8, parentheses, 2x minus 1. Now, hopefully you see something different about this problem. And I apologize for the glare. I'm still working on my production videos here. But it's 36 equals negative 8, parentheses, 2x minus 1. Now, as you remember, this negative 8 is being distributed to these two numbers. Before we can add opposites or divide, we need to get rid of our parentheses by distributing. That's the third thing we can possibly do, is distribute. This helps us simplify our problem down. So to 36 days, negative 8 times a positive 2x is negative 16x. Negative 8 times a negative 1 is a positive 8. Now, this problem looks exactly like the ones before. We come back and we're going to add opposites. Negative 8 and negative 8. 36 and negative 8 comes out to be 28 and negative 16x. We come back here, divide by our coefficient here of negative 16. And remember, we're always dividing by the number that's multiplying the variable. We don't want to divide by 28 here because it's on the left-hand side. We want to divide by the negative 16 because that's what's multiplying the x. These cancel out. We're left with our x value. Now 28 divided by negative 16, we can reduce it. I know 4 goes into both of these, so I can divide both of them by 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 16 divided by 4 is 4, so it's negative 7/4. Or if you use your calculator, it will be negative 1.75. That is our answer. I prefer fractions, but if you want to use decimals because you're using your calculator, that's fine by me at this time. Just make sure on a multiple choice test, like you might see on the ACT, you know how to convert it. So we added a different kind of step. Distribute whenever you see parentheses. Looking at problem D. (9t minus 6 plus 3t equals 6 as well. Now, if we draw the line down the equal sign, I see that we have two variables here, 9t and 3t. They are on the same side, and this is where a lot of students make mistakes. Instead of adding opposites, because they're on the same side, we can just combine our like terms. 9t plus 3t is 12t. And we have minus 6 or plus negative 6. Remember, minus 6 is the same thing as plus a negative. So the fourth thing we can do is combine like terms if they're on the same side. Again, you see we were doing that before we're adding opposites or dividing. Now, again, we add opposites, add 6. We get 12. We divide by 12. And we see t equals nice, pretty number 1. A nice answer like that. So up to 4 ways we can solve. We want to look to distribute or combine like terms first, and then add opposites, and then multiply and divide. Looking at problem E. Now, please don't spaz out because there's a fraction there. We have 3/4 x plus 2 equals 11. Solve it the same way. What will we do first? Can we distribute or combine like terms? No. We can add opposites though. We still have 3/4 x equals 9. Now, this is where it's a little bit different. In this case, you would say, well, let's divide by 3/4. And you're exactly right. But instead of dividing, if you think back to elementary school when you learned how to multiply and divide fractions, when we divide fractions, it's actually multiplying by the reciprocal. And remember, the reciprocal, we just flip-flop the fraction. So, we would multiply by 4/3. And that's because we just flip-flop the fraction. Multiply by 4/3 over here. Put the 9 over 1. Look to reduce. 4's cancel, 3's cancel again. We're down to just x. On this problem, I know that 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. So our answer is just 12. We multiplied by the reciprocal. You can do these calculations in your calculator. All right. And then we can always go back and double check to make sure it works by using your calculator as well. Hopefully this helps. For problem F, we're going to go over it in class after you look at these notes and complete them. All right. Good luck, and I'll talk to you later.